The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back again for another week on The Brandon Peters Show. Today features a discussion on the 2016 film Shin Godzilla. And returning to the show, well, you hear him at least once a month on this show, but from Out Now with Aaron and Abe, we live entertainment, variety, and why so blue? It's Aaron Neuwirth.
Hey there. I like that I'm a regular guest without actually doing anything specifically to the show.
I know. And I like how Peter, I want to be on the Brandon Peters Show. I'm like, you've been on, kind of. Been on the feed a bit, but how have you been doing?
It's when did the show start?
September last
September?
year. Yeah.
Good. For the most part.
There we go. Out Now with Aaron and Abe just celebrated its 100th or 10 years.
No, 10 years. 10 years. Yeah.
100 years on the air.
We're well past 100.
Yes, you're well past. Yeah. Yeah, but you celebrated 10 years of that show, which is quite amazing feat. And with, I would say, I don't think you've dropped from regular output in 10 years.
It has been a weekly show. Anytime we haven't recorded for a week, it's generally because we already recorded something. So there's always been something published every week, I think.
Yeah, something out there.
So yeah, it's a lot. like our numbered episodes were at 445, but we have so many bonuses and commentaries because of Abe and I's very strict rule on nomenclature for these episodes.
Right. What's canon? What's not? Yeah.
Yeah, so we have in somewhere in the 600 or 700s when it comes to when you really added up everything. So yeah, I mean we've been doing the show. I mean, to go back to your question, yeah, things have been good enough in the this apocalyptic era that we've been living in.
Right. Yeah.
I got my first poke in the arm the other day, so that's step one to helping myself assemble with the mole people and whoever else is still living, let alone the surface dwellers, of course. So it's despite things not being normal for a while, ideally they get back to that way, but regardless, hasn't stopped the podcast from going. It hasn't stopped me from trying to maintain a little sense of optimism in all of this. I mean,
right when it started, you guys pivoted pretty well to start right from the jump of things, the theaters closing down and stuff like that. It was pretty awesome how you guys wheeled around and kept it going. I think I remember at the beginning, you're like, I know what I'm gonna do. It was really quick. There are movies, but
like Tom Cruise said in Collateral, adapt, evolve, Darwin, I Ching.
Yeah, definitely. And we've also the commentaries for the first time, people have been listening, but it's like a string, a theme, like a running with the Thomas Harris, Hannibal Lecter movie commentaries that have been.
It's a very movie specific theme, because we had one other theme beyond the Bond commentaries, obviously, but that's different. But beyond, as far as a multi-month theme, remember we did do all the films that Titanic beat at the box office in the first months of 1998.
We did do that. But yeah, with things that stick together and doing them in sequential months, we did do Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 in one night. I remember we did that. But doing these, it's been interesting to continue through them. It's been a lot of fun. Next up is Red Dragon, and
I watched.
Yeah, everybody's favorite Hannibal Rising is on its way.
The best part is that we get to watch it twice.
Yeah, you get to watch it twice. Because, the one for prep and then one for, the good ones do. The good ones. of us. But yeah, we got those, and you
We
recently
gotta find another two 80-minute movies to do back to back because that's fun.
that was fun. That was like you were like, you want to just do the Evil Dead 2? I'm like, I can do Evil Dead 2. It's me,
Yeah,
you,
let's
I
just
think
knock it
Jim
out.
Dietz, Jordan Grout. I think Jordan Grout was
Jordan
there for
Grout,
like
yeah.
a piece of it, and then he had some internet problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to find some like hour long. We could do Universal Classic Monster Movie. We could do a triple feature of that.
It's surprising we haven't done that. Really,
We haven't done any of them, have we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we could easily do like a double Frankenstein thing, like one night. It'd be great.
Anything but Son of Frankenstein, which is close to 2 hours. So
there's a lot of story.
There's a lot of it. Had to give young Frankenstein material. I mean, come on. You also, in relation to this episode, you recently published your Showa era rankings of Godzilla, which I was anxiously awaiting for a while.
Yeah, it's like when King of the Monsters was coming out a couple years ago, I put together my Heisei ranking and my Millennium Era ranking.
Mm-hmm.
For those not familiar, for some reason, even though you might have followed Brandon from the Cult Cinema Cavalcade podcast, there are distinct eras in the Godzilla franchise. The Showa era being the first, the classic era, as far as from 54 to 75, and then there were two more. There's three more eras, but two more complete eras for like the 80s/90s set, and then the Millennium era is like 99, 2004. So I ranked those previously, but yeah, I took a break for a while. Largely because I knew that Criterion set was coming out, so I was like, okay, I'll be able to get like a fresh look at all of these and have like better opinions on them. And plus, this movie, Godzilla vs. Kong, is coming out hours from now as we speak.
Right, as we're recording last week now, but yeah. So
I figured it'd finally be a good time for me to get together the Showa ranking, which is it is quite a feat because it's 15 movies, and I like to not be brief. That's not fair. It's brief enough. It's just there's 15 movies, and I have some fun categories and all of them, like who does he fight? What my thoughts are, some bonus trivia on each of the movies and everything. So I put all that on Why So Blue, and I'm very happy with it. It came out quite well.
Yeah, definitely. Part of it when you did your other rankings, that's what kind of inspired me to go. I was like, I want to watch all of these because the posters from the Heisei era are just phenomenal.
They're the best.
They're like, I need to get one from like my room or whatever, and like because they're just outstanding. And I was like, I need to finally go through and just watch all these damn things. And now I'm up to speed. I last year during our quarantine time, we did the Call Cinema Cavalcade. We did the Showa era with the Criterion box set, and I just continued on, and I'm glad I did because I purchased a lot of Blu-rays that are now out of print.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I can only hope that like Arrow or somebody like gets I doubt Criterion will get the other eras, so I hope like one of the other ones like knocks them out. But yeah, it's some of them are very hard to find now, especially like Violante was already hard to like find, and that now it's like impossible.
There's like one you can order from overseas.
without paying hundreds of dollars. Like you can find them, it's just going to cost you some money.
There's one that's like overseas. It's like $24, but only offers the English dub. I think is like that's it. That's the key. It might be a BDR too. I'm not sure. I have it on my watch list because I'm like, somebody put it out again. Come on. But
I just can't imagine it like sitting there forever. There has to be something in the works as far as like getting the rest of these out there in a a better version.
Right, because that one in the U.S. was a Weinstein, right? I think.
Yeah, Violante's Weinstein. The rest are Sony, so it's I don't know. It's like somehow someone must have like harvested these rights and like figured something. I hope so anyway.
Someone put another set out. That'd just be the best. That'd be great. If they would have, you thought they'd had it now with the movie, but we'll be patient. Just they come out when they go. Well, I mean, Shout Factory's putting out Kong 76 a month after. Or in May, so things always work out.
And Arrow got out the Gamera sets, obviously not the same, but still they got they got something out fair earlier, last year now at this point.
Last summer, I think so.
Yeah, last summer, and then they released them the Showa set and the Heisei set and like smaller sets recently.
Yeah, that July of too much good stuff coming out that I remember, and a Criterion sale at the same time. Oh, geez. And one last thing before we move on. I want to mention that if it wasn't for you, I don't know that the promos for this show would have taken off like they did. Because I put out a promo video. I challenged myself almost like every weekend to put something out. And the first, I thought it'd be fun to just do a Gross Point Blankish video. And I asked you, I was like, hey, you think we should do it? And you were like, yeah, let's do it. And if you would have said like, I can't or whatever, I don't know where we'd be right now. So I have you to thank a lot for doing that. And then the next week I was like, I should put something up again. And I did just a talking to the camera video. And then I got ideas and I've gone crazy at times. Sometimes I'm just creative drought, sometimes whatever, but you helped get that on a roll. Just to keep that as a thing that goes with the show every week. So there's a big thanks. That's awesome. And we killed it on the first one. So,
I'm happy to encourage silliness. So I'm glad the pattern has continued because there's been some fun ideas. Like I watch these and they're like, there's some fun stuff in here. Like that one the other week with Two Princes with your daughter. Like that was fun. That was good stuff.
Yeah. And every time I've asked you to be a video, not only do you say yes right away, you give me whatever I asked for within like the hour. And I tell you, when I pool a lot of people for videos, I know I'm asking a lot from people, but the fact that you take that anxiety and stress of me waiting till like, am I going to get it right away? Amazing.
It's not it's not hard requests. It's like, hey, can you film like 10 seconds of you saying a thing into your phone? Like, yeah, all right. Like, where am I going right now?
It's so weird. Like
on a weekday, like at like 11 o'clock in the morning, it's like, yeah, here. Okay, I'm done. Like
right. The My Heart Will Go On one. It was like there was another song before that you sent me a video for. No one else had, and then I had to change it. And then like everybody else was like, "Oh, I think I'll have time to do it tomorrow." I'm like, I asked for like 5 words. It's crazy. But hey, everybody's different. But it's just really funny that happens, but you take the stress off. Yeah. And aces every time.
Again, I'm happy to encourage silliness. So
definitely. All right. Well, we will move on to Shin Godzilla, which is directed by. Here we go again. If you enjoyed my murdering of names, Occult Cinema Cavalcade, it's back. Is it Hideaki Anno, Shinji Higuchi? They are the directors. Written by Hideaki Anno and Sean Whitley. Starring Hiroki Hasegawa, Yutaka Takenushi, Satomi Ishihara, Ren Asugi, Akira Imoto, Kengo Kora, and Jun Kunimura.
I think you got that down pretty well, I would say. I'm gonna only choose foreign films from now on to test this.
There we go. Japan is plagued into chaos upon the appearance of a giant monster. Ends up being Godzilla. Which Shin Godzilla. What?
Spoilers.
Shin Godzilla apparently means new Godzilla. That's it's kind of a Japanese thing. I know like Police Story had New Police Story. They tend to put, things translate differently here. Kind of like a weird thing.
The American title was Godzilla Resurgence.
Yeah, so. Resurgence. Ooh. The one of the directors is from kind of the anime world with the Evangelion, and one did Attack on Titan Part 1 and 2, and is also a writer and art department for Neon Genesis Evangelion as well. So they kind of came from that. And this is the longest time between Toho Godzillas. It was dormant for 12 years?
Yeah, you had Final Wars in 2004.
And just sat, no one interested in doing Godzillas, Aaron?
Well, no. What's his name? Yoshimitsu Banno, who directed Hedorah, and was subsequently fired because the producer was like, "This is terrible. Why would you do this to us?" And it was banned from making more Toho Godzilla films. He didn't quit. He was still involved with the studio to some capacity, but he kept at it as far as wanting to do more in the Godzilla world. He wanted to make a sequel to Hedorah that never panned out. He wanted to make this thing called Godzilla 3D to the Max, which is this 40-minute IMAX film, Godzilla film, that would have incorporated his ideas for Hedorah too. still Hedorah, and it never quite panned out. But he was instrumental in getting the rights back, to make a combined effort for the American Godzilla films. So he, while Godzilla Final Wars, that was kind of the end of the Millennium Era, and that they kind of intended it that way for a while. Mm-hmm. There were still efforts to be we want to make another one eventually. So Banno was very, important in getting together with Legendary to get that going, to create the MonsterVerse. Essentially, he passed away in 2017. He still has the executive producer credit on King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong. He was thanked in the credits for King of the Monsters as well. The notion was never gone, but not unlike the other eras, between the Showa era and the Height, there's 10 years before they made 84's Godzilla. Okay. And after the Heisei era ended and Emmerich's film came out, they just snatched those rights back right away and then started the Millennium Era up.
You guys are doing this for a while.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, time came, and I guess, the guys from Attack on Titan, and eventually they had just a great pitch. And so it was good, let's get this going. And we're going to talk about it, but it was a success.
yeah. It was, people liked it. People approved. But yeah, this is a take. It's the first time they've actually redone Godzilla, because Millennium and Heisei eras were sequels, started with sequels to the original, and then this one starts fresh completely. And I kind of thought this time it reminds me of kind of if 24 and Godzilla meshed. It kind of has that kind of sense of urgency, but it's a very much a what would things really play like if a Godzilla thing happened? And it has a lot of social commentary in that regard, and really plays hard. I think someone who is skeptical of Godzilla movies and stuff may enjoy this one a lot.
Yeah, because while it's not about, if you're going to a Godzilla movie, getting attached to the characters is just not the thing that you're going there to look for. But there's still a way to do that effectively, as far as creating people that matter to some degree, or a story that has more than just destruction going on. And this one is very much in the mood of it's in the same flavor as the 54, except this one has a lot more. It's weird to say humor, but it does have a sense of humor about itself. Yeah. There's something there that goes along with the very seriousness of it. Yes, it very much is informed by commentary of the times. The 54 one obviously informed by the nuclear age and fear of nuclear holocaust and what have you in the post-war Japan. This one takes in the 3/11 disaster.
Yeah, there's two different disasters. There's a earthquake. Yeah.
There's a huge earthquake, and then there's this nuclear meltdown that took place. And this one's very much inspired by those actions. As far as how you make a film like this today, what do you inform it by? Well, you're not going to talk about the nuclear era anymore, because that's the atomic age. We're way out of that. So you do something else, and that's what they went for. And it's very much there, but at the same time, it's it's a modern film, and so the sensibilities shift a little bit. You have 34 other Godzilla movies at this point, so it's what else do we do? So you incorporate there's a sense of humor here that has to do with the bureaucracy of what it would be like to deal with a disaster,
right?
And doing that with all the minutia you can, as far as having one of the best running jokes is that every character you see, you get to see their name and rank on screen,
right? Exactly.
What their position is, and that's taken to hilarious degrees as far as the elaborate titles a lot of these people have. It even makes a joke out of that at one point, where they just state one guy's our main character. He's what if you're put in charge of this Godzilla, and it says this 4-line long title, what his position in the government is now.
Well, and it's it gives you so many names and stuff I'm not gonna remember. We never remember these people. That's
There's You mentioned 24, and in terms of a real time aspect of it, I can see where that comes from. There's another movie that I'll talk. Yeah. There's another movie I'll talk about when we get to what's next. What else we're talking about that is a very great. I did a double feature with this last night that just works. But it has this. it has a great sense about it as far as, yeah, we're making a monster movie, but we're also going to be like, how would the government respond to this, like you said, in a realistic manner? And that's really the driving force of this film. The endless committee meetings, boardrooms, the human elements that's there, where it just tosses a bunch of people at you to just like to have this realistic handle of it, yet still provide a very entertaining Godzilla movie.
Right. Like red tape upon red tape upon red tape upon red tape. And showing like the prime minister has to make these like decisions based on all this insanity within seconds. They're like always, they're really show the pressure that's on him very well. Like there's that one meeting where the woman, it's always hubris. Like somebody will say something like he can hear it, but she has to sit and repeat it to him. A lot of time they keep using the same movement and camera shot of her. It's like, yeah, it's crazy. And then like how they will like try to say something in a not cover up fashion, but a public friendly fashion as something bad immediately happens. And like,
yeah,
oh, crap.
There's this constant underestimation of what Godzilla is. And so like, and this Godzilla, which we'll talk about, evolves over time. So like every time they think it can't do something, it turns out it can do something. So it's wild. It can be very funny because of that, as far as like defying expectations in that way. And yeah, because it's free from being, a follow up to the 1954 version compared to the other films, regardless of how connected those timelines are, they do kind of adhere to a Godzilla's been here before. Now we're just dealing with him again. This one's just like, this is the first time. Like, what's that going to be? And it really makes good use of that in this kind of modern setting.
Definitely, and it does a lot of like weird things that it's never done before, like the evolution of Godzilla, like that. There's different stages, and it starts with this weird, like, gross kind of tail, the tentacle thing in the water going around, and then it becomes this thing with bug eyes and no arms and not strong feet, just shuffling through, and then it grows to something like familiar stature with Godzilla, and then finally becomes when it's huge. And he also, his mouth when it opens, the bottom splits apart. That's new.
Yeah. It's almost like a Del Toro design as far as that goes.
Yeah, definitely.
But it has these great stages, especially if you're like a fan of Godzilla and you're seeing this for the first time and you're like, you expect to see Godzilla, and then you're like, oh, it's just this weird thing that like needs to like, grow. And so like you expect, it's like, okay, so I guess it's got to change. That's not the first time like Godzilla's evolved before on screen. But this one really takes that to the max, as far as like how you can handle seeing different phases of Godzilla and seeing it happen in like very satisfying ways, as far as the types of destruction he's causing before it gets to this final form where it's just enormous and has all kinds of capabilities that we just haven't seen the way it's been shown before.
Right. Yeah. Like he can shoot beams out of his spikes on the back of his head, and apparently like pieces of him that fall off can grow to become their own organisms. That's what they mentioned in there, I think.
Yeah. We don't see that specifically, but they speculate. Yeah. They say like, there's like there's
dorsal plates or whatever. Yeah.
Just the way he's like, dropping off, like there's a lot of Godzilla blood in this movie. And yeah, it's speculated that's like almost like Alien, just kind of like building out more of it as it goes, which is part of its like whole evolution cycle that it seems to be going through. But and you talk about the atomic breath, like even that gets like an arc, as far as like you see him just like open his mouth, and it's like at first it's flames, and then it kind of builds into its like beam, and then it just becomes this pure beam. And it has like the most range it's ever had in a Godzilla movie. So it's just going across the city. It's insane. And then you have like the different armed forces trying to go after it, and eventually they attack it from the back. And again, as a Godzilla fan, you have a certain expectation. So when suddenly its back shoots not one, but like 17 beams out of its back,
like one of those like
starts using
club light balls of Godzilla. Yeah.
It's like the worst porcupine. Like it's just delivering mayhem from behind now, as it's like taking out these stealth bombers in the air. It's insane. it is so it's so like wild to watch this go on and like see the amount. And it's like, how do you stop this thing? And they find a solution, of course, but it's just like really, it's really wild.
Right, and it's bad. And they have like different. They really show the different ways they try to attack it, some strategies, and there's even the one moment where the prime minister, they find civilians in their trajectory, and then like calls it off, only to have Godzilla just like whip his tail and just destroy more buildings and stuff. It's like, well, I get, having the civilians in your best interest, yes, but all it led to is more of them probably dying with that attack and stuff. But their attack at the time wasn't going to do anything, probably. And with all this stuff, like this also feels like they were thinking of with this movie, the stupid, some of the questions people ask, like why does Godzilla leave to go in the sea? Why does he stop fighting? Why, like, those silly questions? Because then they come up with that, like, he overheats, and so he has to go cool off in the sea, which leads to them kind of figuring out how to defeat him, or not defeat him, just postpone him. And then he has a moment where he just stops mid in the city, and they're like, okay, we got 2 weeks. He's got to wake back up. We got to figure something out. Or was it 10 days or was it 2 weeks? I can't remember. But
they put in like a countdown. And I didn't write it down how long they took, but yeah, they they did, and it's neat. Like they built tension with that too. Like there's a point where you see just like the tail and like a piece of it moves. It's just like, oh no, it's gonna wake up. they gotta get ready. And in the midst of all this, they have like the Japanese/US like participation going on. So they bring in like another woman who's like an aide, the president.
She's great. The aide, I love her.
President Ross, and you never see the president, you just hear him, I think. They bring in kind of like how these foreign relations are going as far as handling this kind of threat that they don't know how to deal with exactly. And they have all these projections as far as like what to expect if it, destroys all of Japan and like what's next. What's the other thing? Oh, as far as like the committees and stuff go, there's a point where like they form like a whole board of I don't have the quote either. I should have wrote it down. It's not on IMDb. I thought it'd just be there, but it's like we have like an assembly of like nerds, scientists, geeks,
yes,
like like just all these people, and it feels very much informed by like a more modern generation as far as how do we handle this. And it's like, we can't just use military. We need to use like all of our different like talents that we have for one, and they like stack on all these different laptops and everything. And like it just it builds a whole environment of like, how do we deal with a Godzilla? Which they even like justify a name for the film as well.
Oh yeah. They would blame the Americans for making a silly name. Like, well, at least we got a name for it. Yeah. Which is pretty funny. And it comes from like a Japanese scientist who went to America to come up with all this, which there's a yacht at the beginning of his that they find, which reminded me of Godzilla 1984, finding the mysterious yacht at the beginning. And then that reminded me also of Fulci's Zombie when I watched Godzilla 1984. But that kind of felt like a little nod to that. I don't know, intentional or not, but they were similar. Mysterious boat. I think we have a delay.
Is there?
I think there might be. I'm not sure, but if I come off as interrupting you, I'm probably not. You probably paused somewhere.
I'm hearing you just like count it. One. I'll say 1, 2. You say 3. 1, 2,
3.
It's a little bit. Yeah. It's not too bad.
That's okay. Yeah. So I just wanted to let you know I'm like cutting in and by accident, but there's a lot of things, and I like this strategy on like how they take him down in the end by using the military to use their force to destroy their own city, to have buildings, plant Godzilla on the ground, and then they shoot the stuff to freeze his blood or whatever inside of him, and it looks like this dental operation on Godzilla.
All the cranes and everything,
cranes, and like spray it in there, like, oh, he's got a cavity, and it like comes to like down to like the wire on that, and he just kind of like almost turns to stone in their city, and that they're gonna have to learn to live with him until he eventually awakes. But it's pretty cool finale that I don't think they'd ever done before. Normally, I mean, throughout these, usually he fights a monster, he wins, he goes home or something like that. But to see him just to be continued kind of is an interesting finish.
It leaves it. I want to talk more about the ending because it's one of the best like endings in general.
Yeah.
But the notion of getting more was certainly there, and it's unfortunate that Toho decided, like, the initial plan was to make another Shin Godzilla, but then Toho's like, well, everyone's making these cinematic universes, so let's make a cinematic universe of Shin movies. And which again, I'm not against necessarily. If you're going to say, okay, we're making like Shin Mothra and Shin Rodan or whatever, like, cool. But at the same time, it's like, you had a really good base for a story. Like, I want to see where this is going to go. So it's like, yeah, things are still up in the air. There's no like official word on any new plans yet for Toho's next Godzilla film. I mean, I think they're dealing with, what these legendary films are doing.
Yeah, they had to like wait, right, till the legendary ones were complete or something.
I mean, this came out after 2014, so I mean,
well, I saw somewhere, I was reading somewhere where they had like a under contract till after Kong or Godzilla versus Kong came out, that they couldn't have one come out or something, and some agreement with Legendary. But like, yeah, the cliffhanger, they talk about like how Godzilla could possibly evolve with wings. And then in the cliffhanger, they get a close up on the tail, and you can see these little creatures that have formed.
So here's the thing. It's not just like creatures. It's the Godzilla's evolution through this movie is wonderful because it's all about countering the stuff that's, threatening it. Right. So first it's like the air, the basic, his mass against the environments, being shot out with stuff. Like, what do you like? It keeps evolving. And it's like, so what do you deal with next? Well, the thing that Godzilla is most threatened by are committees. And so on his tail is an army of committees on his tail. It's one thing. It's creepy as hell looking at it.
It is.
And just the way they just, all the music's dropped out at that point. You're just looking at this like still, these like, this shot panning up the tail, showing these like people that are just yelling, and like there's even one that looks like it's on the phone. Like, it's very specific what it's trying to do, and it's like, that's insane. Like, that's the thought process that went through this. It's like, how does it evolve next? It'll evolve into a giant group of people. It's
right.
That's wild. And it's such a, like, again, the creepiness is there, but it's such a deliberate shot. Like, it's so thought out, where there are other great endings of Godzilla movies. Destroya comes to mind. Even King of the Monsters, I think, has a spectacular, as far as like a get you going type of ending. But this one is just, it's so like intricate as far as how it got to that point, and then leaves you there with this kind of chilling thought. For a film that is, again, fairly humorous, it still has these beats that just nail you in a Godzilla movie of all things. So it's like, it's not just like, I love the ending for this as a Godzilla movie, but just in movies in general.
No,
what a hell of a closing shot that is. Like, it just really does something.
It's really creepy. I mean, it does feel, it is cliffhangery, but it could be the final statement on it as well, too. I mean, with what this movie is, showing that it was forming, the committees, we go, oh, look, what are those? Sequel. But it could be just like that's our final thing we say here, with their social commentary and whatnot on the film. But yeah, it is an awesome ending. And this is one of the few movies that, when you think about it, like, that's just Godzilla and he's the bad guy. Like, it's like, even the 2014 Godzilla had other monsters to fight in that film. But like most of the time, Godzilla and other monsters. You got this, the original in '84, and if you count the Emmerich one, there's that. Yeah.
I mean, it is a very versus heavy franchise, but you get those occasional ones that just say, no, Godzilla's the only threat that we need to worry about here.
Yeah.
And the other, this one, it does it. It doesn't really. I mean, looking at my like in total ranking, like, this is easily like at least the second, but it's like, I mean, there's not much that puts this, past for 54. I mean, it's like, it's
right. I mean,
it's right there.
Like, it truly understands what that first film was in forming itself. Like, I mean, it's astounding with any franchise, any remake, any sequel, that this one really knows what to do with that original, like really knows what the important thing was before the monster. I mean, I think
even though real quick, even the look of Godzilla like it's CG, but it's not a guy in a suit, but it certainly is.
They try to remind you of that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very much, it's evoking that, suitmation. It's evoking that kind of like guy in rubber suit type of effect as far as how he moves, how he's designed. So it's so indebted to that original. It just knows how to like play it in the right ways.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's just interesting to look at. And I think like Hedorah, that we were talking about, that one, I think that one's informed by the original in a good way. Like I think the ones that actually pull more than just, hey, monsters fighting. And then again, I'm not from Japan and stuff. There could be deeper things in a lot of those films that I don't pick up on because it's
for sure
reflective of those. But the ones that I get, like, that's one thing I liked about Hedorah. It was like the smog monster was another answer to Godzilla and the problems that they were trying to reflect on in the first one. And this one,
I mean, outside of some various references that might be going over our heads, there's not a lot of like they're I've seen these enough to know like there's only so many of them that are really like attacking or commenting on culture in some way, or having some level of satire. The original King Kong versus Godzilla comes to mind as far as trying to do something with the premise, but for the Megalon doesn't have much going on. That's what's there.
Right.
And even like especially the later, the Heisei era, as much as I like the Heisei era, like that's very much trying to do its own thing as far as we just want to tell a singular story through Godzilla films. So
they're commenting on other films that have been made before pretty much.
It's less about thematic depth and more about just like cinematic homages within Godzilla films.
Yeah.
And the Millennium series is just an anthology film, just divided into 6 movies. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's all fun to go through. Like it's a treat. Like if I don't know how you can be bored. I mean, there's like 30 plus films, and they're all. I mean, some of them you're not gonna hit one out of the park every time. But the way they managed to make a lot of these so different, for the most part, it's pretty impressive. If you want to go through down that rabbit hole, I highly recommend it. And yeah, and when you get to the end, when you get to this one, you're just like, wow, all right, back to, it's like a nice bookend. And hopefully we see more from this and they go back to following. Would you bring another monster in for a second Shin Godzilla, or do you think?
I mean, I mean, at this point, it's like, unless they have just a really creative way to handle bureaucracy even further by, I don't know, moving to like another country, but that'd be unlikely for a Toho film.
Right.
I would. I'm trying to think of like which makes sense. Like, I don't know. I mean, well, honestly, yeah. I mean, if you have a film that's dealing with the bureaucracy and like, how do we defeat this thing? Mecha Godzilla would make sense as a new adversary. Okay, all right. We've done the work and we've decided to build our own Godzilla. That seems like a governmental response, which is not like Pacific Rim in that matter, as far as
or maybe you could do something based on like foreign relations or country relations, and you bring a monster that represents some other country with. Let's try to pull that off somehow, or maybe like a United Nations of monster and stuff like that. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. If that's the one, if they want to key in on governments doing and all of it, and this, it's insane how many people are in this movie. I mean, there's a lot of like extras sitting around. There's a huge bunch of government people, and we probably see more of them than evacuating people. I mean, that's an overstatement, but just the fact that we see so many different ones is crazy.
It's a huge speaking role film as far as like the amount of like parts where people have something to say. Because it's not like, I know there's more, but like LA Confidential is always a film that seems to get like talked about as far as there are so many speaking parts in this film. Like regardless of how big the actor is or what have you, there's like a ton. This is a movie like that as far as so many people have a part in this movie, regardless of like them being a famous stature. It's just like, we gave mountains of people work to do to make this movie come to life.
So many people talked. So many parts were had. Yeah. And this ended up being one of the. Was it the highest grossing Japanese film of 2016?
I wouldn't be. I mean, I think so. Offhand, I wouldn't be surprised if it is like that makes sense. But more importantly, it won like 16 Japanese Academy Awards. It was
dominated. Nominated for 7 and won Best Picture and Best Director.
Yeah, it clean like it was a well-regarded film. Like,
yeah.
Everywhere. I mean, but yeah, in Japan, Toho was very proud of like the work that went into this, which is just more irritated that it's like we're not just making Shin Godzilla 2 right away. It's like, come on, everyone liked this.
Right? Yeah, it was huge. I mean, it outgrossed the entire like Heisei and Millennium era films like within like no time. Like it
sold a ton. It sold a ton of tickets. Yeah, it did really well.
I think it was like financially it might have been I think it was the most successful since Ibra. That was like the one they said ticket sales wise it had sold the most tickets. But man, it was a.
I know ticket sales outside of these newer movies, King Kong versus Godzilla is by far like the biggest ticket seller of the entire franchise. That record held on for years. But I mean, necessarily, it was still making money. It started to wane a little bit, a lot. That's why you reboot it or you get rid of it for a while.
And who knows what the Godzilla versus Kong would have done had we not had a pandemic? People.
I mean, Kong's a movie star, so I mean, I think that would have paid off really well in the realm of things. I know King of the Monsters didn't do the best.
I do, and it's funny because I feel an excitement built for the movie. I mean, based off social media, which isn't always an accurate portrayal of what it is, but it feels like people have been getting really excited for this one. So, and the people who have seen it, like yourself, have. I mean, there's been people loving it so far.
There's a lot of good things to say. Yeah. And I am happy that I'm not like sitting here alone that way.
Well, I feel like King of the Monsters, like it's kind of, I guess, what did you say, mixed with that one?
They were negative. They're mixed negative reviews. There were more negatives.
And I didn't get to see that one until like a Sunday after it came out, I think. And I was like, I don't know how you could come out like that negative on this movie. Like, what did you want? Like, that's what I always wonder with American audiences. I don't know if they really know Godzilla movies like they say they do.
No, they like the idea of it is intriguing, but once you see it, it's a taste. It's a cult property compared to Kong, which Kong is more of a, it's American. Like it's despite being an immigrant from Skull Island. It has, I don't know, an appeal there. Maybe just because, I don't know. Regardless, I mean. This new one seems like it's in this Goldilocks area because Godzilla 2014 got really good reviews.
Yeah.
And Skull Island, I mean, it doesn't count as far as Godzilla films, but like Skull Island got good reviews as well and made money. King of the Monsters didn't do as well. So now we're in this like period where it seems like it's just right, I guess, as far as how to balance these things, and hopefully that transfers well to whatever monetary expectation you could have in this pandemic era that we have to kind of like deal with. But
it can be
started out well, like it did super well overseas and it's opening international weekend. So
yeah, very.
I know we're talking about this a lot more now. We're going to talk about Shin Godzilla, but
no, it's relevant. Time specifically relevant. If you're listening to this episode in 2 years, well, this is when it was recorded. Cool. Do you have any more on Shin Godzilla?
Let me look at my notes here. I mean, we covered everything. I mean, that's it. It's just a really strong fit. Like I saw this in theaters. It had like a limited like Fathom release or what have you, and I'm like, hell yeah, I want to go see a Godzilla film. So I took my lovely girlfriend, I took my dad and a friend of ours that my dad and I that likes to see these kinds of movies, and we had a blast. Like it was such a fun time seeing it on a big screen, an old school type Godzilla film.
Yeah.
And I didn't know going in what it was beyond like the previews where I was like, cool, new Godzilla. I didn't know what kind of movie it was going to be. And it's like, oh, so it's a satire, like, and the Godzilla movie, like, and it's delivering like things I haven't seen Godzilla do before that are super awesome. And this is coming after 2014, where I've already seen Godzilla give what's basically the best finishing we've ever seen in a Godzilla movie.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, watching this one, it's like, how do you up that? Well, one thing, this one's bigger. And also it has like crazy dorsal fin lasers now also in the midst of its evolutionary path. It's like, what? This is so much good here. And like, we haven't talked about the directors nearly enough, but they like, in addition to like filming the Godzilla stuff well, they have a lot of fun just like putting cameras on stuff, like Breaking Bad style, putting it on like the chairs and things rolling around. Like it's just
the point of view of the monitor looking out at people. Like
that one, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's a great shot. Like there's just like a lot of creativity as far as how do we make this work. Not even how do we make it work, but like what do we do that's like just fun and different for
how do we make
movie?
All these government meetings and committee things not boring or the same or repetitive without just besides changing rooms and offices and walking and talking. It's like they really keep going.
And this is 20. I mean, I assume they filmed like 2015 or whatever, but like, there's social media, but like even now you could see them doing even more of that as far as like incorporating, different kinds of like camera, they have a little bit of like
cell phone videos,
more towards the beginning when they're first like, what is going on out here? You're just kind of getting shots of like tunnels that are
like common people's point of view.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I like if they made a sequel now, I can only imagine them like incorporating that even more so, just because of how informed people are using that kind of social media and what have you to capture moments live and whatever. It's like there's a lot you can do. That I'm like my mind's totally in like, what would the sequel be like? Would there be protests? So like save Godzilla, which there are a bit of. There is a bit of that in this movie. Like it's going for these kind of things. So it's. Especially if they want to keep it like informed by today in some way. Obviously, it's Japan, so it's a little different. But I imagine there's things you can do that incorporate other monsters while still having societal things to address to some degree. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's everything like this movie moves like it's 2 hours and lots of government stuff, but man, it cranks through. Like it's kind of what like when I was compared to 24, it was not so much the like feels like it's real time, but like the pacing and the way they stage some of the government things feels very
I know what you mean, but
24.
Even then, like for it's a 2-hour movie versus a 24 episode TV show,
right,
so not necessarily real time, but there's the frantic pacing as far as important people needing to go to different rooms to say things to others about what's going on and how do we get this done. Like that's 24 in a nutshell without, minus except instead of Jack Bauer, shooting a guy in the face and, looking cool or whatever, you have Godzilla destroying something in the craziest way possible.
I now just realized I want Xander Berkeley in a Godzilla movie. He's not been in one. We should have him.
It seems like he'd fit right in given all the character actors they shove into these legendary movies. Right,
He should have had a lead.
If CCH Pounder can drop in for like 2 minutes in the courtroom, I think Xander Berkeley, and preferably with a hat, can find his way into one of these as well.
Oh, that would be great. All right. You ready to go to the what else section?
Sure.
You can continue with Godzilla all you want, but I don't care.
I mean, this movie rocks.
It does. I love it.
I mean, I would recommend it to anybody. Like, as far as if you're trying to see if you're trying to like know what Godzilla's like, I wrote a big post about this too, as far as like your beginner's guide to Godzilla films.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this one is a great balance of like all the different kinds of ways you can approach this character or this creature. And it's, modern. And I know that, so there's less of it might not throw people off as much if you have, a film that's set like more current times than not, perhaps. But it's also just like it has a sense of humor about itself. It knows what it's doing, and it gives you just a great Godzilla.
Yeah, no, like that's what I said. Like I would recommend this to anyone. Like, oh, you're the hardcore Godzilla skeptic, watch this one. Like, if you like movies, if you're the hardest against blockbusters, if you're the hardest against Godzilla, like kaiju movies, check this one out. I really think it'll surprise you and be like, oh, wow, maybe these aren't turn your brain off entertainments. Maybe there is more to them, whatever turn your brain off is, because I don't know. We've had conversations about this.
it it really does everything. Like that's like if you want a foreign film, if you want a satire, if you want a monster movie, like if you want a comedy, like it just has so much going.
Action,
thriller,
suspense,
and it's all competently made. And if you want to see what other outside of America blockbusters look like, it's all right here. Like it just packs it in so effectively. Like it's ridiculous how good this movie is.
It's so good.
Like that's like less for me as a giant Godzilla fan and more just me as like a fan of film. Like if you like how movies are made, like this does a lot of very creative stuff, like getting that done. So.
Yeah, in modern ways, classic ways, like it really, really handles it well. Where did it fall in your top of the last decade?
It's in there. It's like it's a complicated list, and like every that's the best of the decade as it stands when I posted it. Like it's already like looking at it, it's like I could have put this higher. Like it's in the 90s, I believe, but it's like 100 films over 10 years.
Right?
It's a lot to consider, but it's like watching it again
like that's
it made it. But then I'm like, I watched it again last night. It's like this is too low. Like, this movie's like so good.
Yeah.
What was the last time I watched Birdman? I don't know. Why is it so high compared to Shin Godzilla?
Right? Yeah. Like I saw Birdman in the theater, bought it on Blu-ray, and I haven't even watched my Blu-ray. I'm not sure. So, and I liked Birdman a lot back then.
Yeah, it's a great movie, but it's like Shin Godzilla, guys. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I watched it twice. Like I watched it last night before we recorded, and then this afternoon I was doing something. I put it on, but I put it on with the English dub just to see how that played out because I hadn't heard it with the English dub yet, and I was like, no, there's too many. The problem with the English dub is like we were talking about how so many parts there are. There are not enough good actors for those parts.
I get it. Yeah,
you get some bad deliveries here and there, but the main people are pretty good, but. To differentiate the voices and have so many, they doesn't quite work out all the time. But yeah, it's a great movie.
I know. I kind of keep thinking of things now. Like I'm trying. There is a part where like you have the prime minister who you mentioned who's making like these hard decisions.
Yeah,
and he dies.
Oh, he died. Yeah, another 24 staple. You got to kill the president.
But he and like 8 cabinet members or whatever die, and it's like you can. It's the kind of thing where, like, so writing my Godzilla vs. Kong review, like, there's been a lot of talk about, like, the humans in these movies and how much you're supposed to care about, or, like, the reason why people don't like these movies because the story's dumb and the humans don't matter. And it's like, I mean, there's an ability to entertain without having, like, a rigid structure where these things need to be, qualifiers. And I feel like Godzilla films are very much not that. You're not, if your movie is called Godzilla versus Kong, I feel like your level of expectation should be at a certain place. That's not saying you don't need to have characters or they can, it's okay for them to be terrible. But I don't think, when these movies come out that are made by all the people they're made by, Adam Wingard, the director's thinking like, oh, I forgot the character development. Like, that's not what's going on here. So bringing that back to Shin Godzilla, there's very much a purpose in how these characters are utilized. And yes, you're following a couple of them that you get more familiar with than others, even if it's only through the lens of bureaucracy.
Right.
But when you like the prime minister, who I know nothing about beyond he's just exacerbated by the situation, when he and a bunch of people die midway through the movie, I care. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, these guys try, like, they don't know how to deal with a Godzilla, and now they're dead. Like, I don't feel great about that. Like, I have an attachment to, like, what's going on here. And it's another way where this movie really comes to life as far as understanding, yeah, this is a powerful threat. Are you watching a Godzilla movie? Yeah. Is that inherently silly? Sure. But do you want to see, like, this version of that where it's giving you, what if a government took this seriously? Yeah, I want to know what that is. And guess what? I care about that. I care about like what's going on throughout this film. And so it really does a lot of things very effectively while being a Godzilla movie.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, when they kill that prime, and it's like his chain of successions with him too. Like, it's weird that they don't separate them out and travel, but that happens and becomes another point of contention. Like, they have to like vote in a temporary.
It's like a hindsight thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a hindsight thing because it's like, how do you deal with this? And like, oh, now he's here now. We need to evacuate. Like, yeah, all right, let's go. Like, it's like I can understand the we didn't have the perfect plan for this, like in the moment type thing. When it comes to giant monster we've never seen before, it's like, yeah, we're probably not gonna get all this right, and yeah, it cost us something deep because of it.
Yeah, crazy, but yeah, this movie thinks it out. It's gotta be like it's as interested in the monster as it is in showing the government actions and how they work out and how they play on it, and has in its back of its head, what dumb questions do people ask during these movies that we can have like little answers for that sound scientific and like, whoa, yeah, that makes sense. I buy that. Like they really, it's a thoughtful script. Like I'd love to see them shooting at each other right in this story and like making sure every little crack has is filled. Like it's very, very thoughtful in its approach.
I don't think I can emphasize how amazing the atomic breath is in this movie. Like, it's so like just the stages of his mouth, the way it opens, the beam that it blasts, like it's the length that it is. Like it's just
when
insane.
the mouth separating is interesting because I've never seen Godzilla as gross before, and that's kind of gross looking, and it gives him kind of a creep factor again that maybe he hadn't had.
It's a scary Godzilla. Like the design is scary in this movie. Like if you like just look at it, and it's just so the way it's shot. It's so just like the wide shots. It's just looming in the background is this like big thing that has no sense of reason that you can, understand offhand. It's not Kong where, there's humanity there. This is just like, it just is coming here and it's just destroying things.
It's a thing. Well, and it's weird looking too. I mean, its evolution too makes you kind of unsettled. You're like,
it feels like something an anime team would design. Like it has a different kind of because for one thing, it's not a guy in a suit, so you don't need to make a suit that's big enough for a person to be inside of. So you can have fun with that. So its head is smaller, its neck is narrower, its body is like a different kind of rigid. Like its arms are T-Rex.
The eyes
almost.
Are like chicken-like almost.
Yeah, they start out chicken-like before they evolve. Like it's just, whew. They got some ideas for this thing, and it just it gets its spotlight in the best of ways.
Oh sure, definitely.
And it's purple, and it's cool. Like do something different.
It rules. Yeah, definitely.
Purple when it lights up. Red on the front, purple in the back. That's what it does.
Seek out Shin Godzilla for sure. Like, just go see it. Go see it. Get it. Buy it. Rent it. Check it out if you're into any little bit of Godzilla or just a good damn movie. Definitely. So, all right. Well, we move on to what else? This is where we just talk about anything we've kind of maybe put in the world, written, recorded, or read, listened to, watched, something like that. Just whatever else we have going on. So, Aaron, what else?
So, as I mentioned, there was another movie that I watched with this, a double feature that I did. It's In the Loop. Armando Iannucci's brilliant comedy satire from 2009. Yeah, that sounds right. But why I watched this back to back is because that's a movie about bureaucracy, and it was it came before Veep, which is the HBO series, which is also brilliant, but it's doing very similar things as far as just going through the ridiculousness of government administration and all the various people that do different things and how much you can mine comedy out of stuff like that. So it's based off a British series called In the Thick of It, which Armando Iannucci also created, and which features Peter Capaldi, who I assume people know now as like a doctor, but I know him as this very foul-mouthed British man because
people will know him as the Thinker. So.
Oh yeah, he'll be the Thinker soon enough. But the in addition to being a very funny way to kind of weave a web of craziness within the U.S. and British governments, mainly the British, but for the movie it goes to the U.S. It's also laden with swears and very elaborate, very creative swearing throughout this film. It's a hysterical movie as far as like how it sets up different situations. It has a lot of people you recognize. James Gandolfini is one of the major stars of the film, but it very much works in tandem with Shin Godzilla as far as like a movie that deals with boardroom meetings, committees, and what have you in a humorous way. This movie's just instead of Godzilla, just has outwardly very, very funny things going on throughout it.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that movie, but I never checked it out.
Oh, you got to get
so
on
I got to
it.
go back on it. Yeah.
You
Definitely
need a
check it out.
laugh. Like, that's going to do it. It's really, really funny.
Heck yeah, definitely. Oh, and Capaldi, the funny factoid about him and Craig Kilborn had a punk rock band together in the early 80s called the Dream
Of course
Boys,
they
which always fascinates me.
That's wild.
And I think one of the other guys in it went on to be like some sort of successful like record producer or something. So it was like a talented band that came out or whatever.
Capaldi's also an Oscar winner.
Yeah, Academy Award winner like
Oscar
way long ago too. Yeah. Yeah, like short film, was it? Is that the category?
Yeah, best short film.
Best
yeah, it was a live action short.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, talented man, that Capaldi.
Yeah, if you like Veep, you will love In the Loop. Like, that's bottom line. That's right there.
Awesome. Is it on any of the streaming services right now, or?
I don't know offhand. I have the Blu-ray because I needed it. So,
I may need it after I see it too. So yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, it's out there somewhere. Like, I'm sure you can rent it in some capacity. If not, it's probably on like Canopy or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh yeah,
it's an IFC film.
The highly underappreciated Canopy. Like, check. Yeah, I've mentioned how like Canopy, your library, or Hoopla. That's the other one, right?
Hoopla, yeah.
Hoopla and Canopy. They're like, if you can't afford a Criterion channel, you have free access to some good stuff similar with Canopy, definitely. And
yeah, if you have a library card and HBO Max, you can pretty much get a lot of Criterion.
Right, yeah, that's pretty much, yeah. Or if you're AT&T phone service, you have a lot of Criterion at your fingertips for free. So there's that. What else is Scream Queen? I finally watched it, the Mark Patton documentary, who the star of Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and it tells his side of things from being a gay man in Hollywood in the 80s, and rather than trying to keep in the closet and do what students and stuff were telling him, he just disappeared. And when they made the documentary Never Sleep Again about the series, a federal private investigator was able to hunt him down. Like, no one could find him. And this is his story about returning and confronting things and bringing things to the medium. It's very fascinating about Hollywood from his perspective in the 80s and AIDS and things like that. It's a really interesting documentary. Now, I mean, it feels like it could get lost in my mind, like, oh, well, everybody's got a documentary now, but this one actually has a lot to say, a lot of stuff to do, and to maybe not take a look and laugh at a movie, or just how things have come around to be appreciated with this film. But it doesn't sit and try to go for hours on end. It's short, but it really feels impactful, rather than just making documentaries upon documentaries upon documentaries nowadays like we get. But definitely enjoyed that. It was on Shudder, which I currently have because I wanted to watch Lucky, and then I went to cancel my 1 week, and they were like, would you like a month? And I was like, all right, I'll take a month. So finally checked that one out. All right, well, that'll do it for today. Aaron, thanks as always for your support and being game to jump on the show and talking Godzilla, which is, I know, something you love, and that is just another plus that comes with you. So let people know where they can find you and what you got going on.
I'm all over the place. You can find me hosting the podcast I'm a co-host of, Out Now with Aaron and Abe, which is available on iTunes and everywhere you can find podcasts. I write movie reviews over at WeLiveEntertainment.com. I write my Blu-ray reviews, mainly for Criterion stuff, over at Why So Blue. And I have the occasional thing going on with Variety as well. And I'm on Twitter at AaronsPS4.
All right, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD. Written work at WhySoBlue.com. There's more from the Brandon Peters Show this week. But until then, always remember to keep the positivity in your online film chatter.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail@brandonpetershow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.